So the beauty of what we do is really shorten that learning curve or the barrier to entry for your contact center to reap the benefits of a gig economy, still meet your security standards, and then deliver incredible agent quality. Welcome to the Future of Contact Centers podcast, where we dive into strategies, technologies, and best practices transforming contact centers. I'm Tyana, your new host. I'm so excited to be here. And today I have with me Trevor, the founder and CEO of ShyftOff. And I'm glad for us to kick off this episode today.
Thanks for having me. I'm very glad you're the host now.
Yay! Yeah, and if you didn't know, went full time with ShyftOff. So this is why you're going to hear more of me. And I hope that you love it. What I'm really excited about today is that we're unpacking something we're really passionate about. And I feel is going to be the future of contact centers. So if you've spied on us on social media or if you kept tabs, we have launched the world's very first agentic workforce delivery platform. And I think if you're still in the mindset that generative AI is the transformation, chatbots, automation, knowledge bases, you're missing the bigger picture. And thankfully, we're your helpful guides to help you get there. No shame, right? We're all learning. But we really want to talk about how agentic AI and really this concept of agentic workforce delivery is going to change the way that humans and AI work in contact centers, right? Really eliminating that binary construct that we have been doing for quite a while and usher in this new age of orchestration that I think is so desperately needed in the contact centers. So if you're running contact centers now, you're staying up at night trying to figure out how to get cutting edge. You want to know what to do in the next 6 months. We're really excited to dive into that today.
Awesome.
Cool. So, Trevor, I think I want to start with revisiting something I feel like we've talked about for a while, which is our prediction of AI in the contact center space. If you're listening and you fondly remember reading the predictions report we put out in 2025, or if you haven't, don't worry, we're going to have one coming out in 2026. I'd love, Trevor, for you to touch on a lot of what we talked about and how we think AI is really changing contact centers.
Yeah, I think going to fast forward 10, 20 years, or at least for the foreseeable future, let's say. And by the way, this is all moving so fast. So like what we think is the foreseeable future today may actually change tomorrow. We don't know. But I think it's pretty safe to say that the future of operating a contact center, and maybe it's customer support or customer success, is going to be some mix of AI agents and humans. And I think that mix from now on is going to continue favoring AI agents more and more, but it won't go from 100% human to 100% AI agent overnight. And I think that the path that we're all going to walk for the foreseeable future is going to be a little bit bumpy, and it's going to change the way we operate all of our customer support, and especially the human side. And so I do think that, agentic AI is here to stay. It's better for the customer. It's better for our businesses. And it's not an existential crisis for humans. It's a call to action to change how we operate. And so we're seeing that really clearly. I think volatility is going to go up in our contact center, the human handled volume. Also think complexity is going to go way up. AI is going to be great at the simple transactional stuff. But when you take that out, what's left over is kind of the messy stuff that requires a little bit more advanced problem solving, and heck, it's not going to be very predictable. So those are the things that we continuously think about, and we think about what does that mean from a human perspective and how we operate.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. One of my favorite parts about the prediction report is we coined this term baseload, right?
Yeah.
This idea that your baseload is what your contact center today is really busy with. Routine calls, change your password, check my account, do those things. And granted, if you're on the cutting edge, you're like, hey, we've passed that, right? We're building apps. I was on a call with T-Mobile yesterday, and I think the first half of my call, maybe 50% of it, I was talking with an AI agent who was helping bringing up these things. It sounded very conversational. It was great. But then I needed to do something that was really complex, and then I was waiting for 30 minutes. It was quite terrible. But then I got a really great person on the other side. It was 9 o'clock at night. So for whatever reason, I was like, let me talk to T-Mobile then. But what I thought is, okay, T-Mobile's done a great job of what feels like eliminating the base load, but it took such a long time for me to get a human on that I think that this is where the opportunity sits, right?
Yeah.
Yes, base load is getting away, but look how long it took for me to get in touch with a human. And then the resolution, right? They had to still do all the work that AI had promised to like rise up to them to make it easier. That's where I think there's a real opportunity for
Yeah, so somebody
orchestration.
miscalculated something in the forecast or
Yeah.
couldn't get enough people in at 9 p.m. on last night. Both are really challenging things in a contact center. And my guess is the fact that they're layering on the AI agents, those predictions for them, for their forecast and their staffing needs are probably way more challenging to predict. So they probably didn't expect your call.
No, yeah,
And
exactly.
maybe something went wrong. Maybe it typically is able to do what you asked it to do, but for whatever reason, the technology broke, and now it's driving volume to the call center, which is exactly what we're saying is going to happen. And especially as companies adopt this, 30-minute hold time is ridiculous.
Yeah,
Like-
it was forever.
So, I mean, you should there's something was wrong there. I'm sure T-Mobile has a giant team of people that are really smart at forecasting, and they're probably the best in the business, but something still happened, and they didn't have enough levers to react in real time.
Yeah.
And you were sitting there for 30 minutes and talking about it on a podcast, which is not good for T-Mobile.
I know. Right. Well, I think it's just interesting that like T-Mobile is truly best in class, and they are experiencing something that I think agentic workforce delivery could really solve.
T-Mobile,
So
you should call us.
right, really. That's really what this is. So I'd love for us to jump into what agentic workforce delivery really is. Hopefully, we don't want to seem like we're just creating this buzzword, but we truly and honestly have proved this model. We have customers that call our platform Contact Center Magic. We are really confident this is the future. So there's really 4 components when you think of agentic workforce delivery. And I'm going to fly through them quickly, but we're going to drill into each a little bit more specifically. But it's this idea of intelligent agent matching that's really done for you. That's agentic. All of these pieces are really done by a component of agentic AI. So there's intelligent agent matching. There's dynamic scheduling that's happening around your call data. So things from your CX stack, thinking about forecasts that you're working on, data that's coming in real time that we can then be responsive to and the platform can. The third part is AI-driven QA and just really being able to do quality at scale. And the final piece is cost control and full transparency. So when you think about agentic workforce delivery, it's not this like big AI black box. When you as a contact center leader are trying to articulate this transformation to your team, these are really the 4 pillars that we feel make up what it is in human terms and make it really easy to understand how agentic AI can deliver outcomes for your business.
Yeah, totally. And I guess some context too. Our view on this is, again, you're going from this largely human contact center world that's probably managed on spreadsheets and teams of people to do their specific functions. We're calling out that's probably going to break down pretty quickly. And we're, one example that Tyana just mentioned with T-Mobile, again, we don't know all the data or the info on that, but could be happening there. You have to expect the complexity of your human operation to go exponentially through the roof. And so your spreadsheets and your people-based operation and overhead is going to come to a screeching halt, or it's going to have a lot of challenges. And you're going to have to be able to process and operate a larger scale contact center with a lot more people in order to get what you need. And for us, the workforce delivery is evolving to now a mix of AI agents and humans. The volatility on operating humans is going to go through the roof. Therefore, your recruiting, training, workforce management, quality assurance, all the things that you do today have to evolve. And what we mean by agentic workforce delivery is we are automating 98% of that. And the 4 components that we're going to walk through we believe should be part of a holistic system, an agentic workforce delivery platform that's orchestrating all of these moving pieces. It can't be separate. It can't be spreadsheets. It can't be siloed teams.
Yeah, that's big. So in that, I would love to dig into the very first component of what a workforce delivery platform should do. And it's intelligent agent matching. And I think something that we realized is an opportunity and we've built into the platform is a KYC framework, which, if you've heard that before, it's know your customer.
Mhm.
For our platform, it's know your contractor. And this mirrors a lot of the best practices in financial services industries of really understanding who's on the other side of that computer, that phone, that 1099 contractor, just so that we understand, like, not only are we bringing the best talent, but these are people that have met security standards, ID checked. They're not AI bad actors. These are real humans on the other side. And this is what makes it really special. It's like we're able to scale these 1099 humans around your ecosystem. And we do this through a KYC protocol.
Yeah. The most important thing in a 1099 model, especially now as the security threats are exponentially getting worse, is locking down, make sure you have good controls in place to know exactly who that agent is on the other end of the platform, or on the other end of that call, or whatever it is. We solve that first, right? Before any agent gets in, that's the first thing. They have to clear all these protocols, and they're constantly being monitored. And so without that, you're really at risk.
Mhm.
And so for us, it's being able to gate who has access to the platform, and then continuously monitor for suspicious behavior.
We know that there's a rise in remote workforce. We also learned a lot of stuff in COVID that remote work can be extremely powerful. And
Yeah,
I think that people started to shy away from it and go back into office because they just didn't understand how to
that's happening
effectively
currently for
do,
sure.
yeah,
Yeah,
the security piece. And how do you monitor effectively? How do you know that the people are doing the job that they do? The beauty of 1099 is that these people are only paid for productive time.
yeah.
So you have like a bit of control in this environment. And then we've introduced this additional layer of security that's enterprise grade. And it comes on two sides. It's really knowing the person, but also we know the device.
Right.
And that's what it really allows this model to scale. We've oftentimes had people come to the platform and are like, I want to send my own computer to all these agents. That's a nightmare. Like, first of all, and you're going to lose money. You're never going to get that computer back, rarely ever. And so the idea is that we have these two levers that are going on. We really know the customer, but then we also really know the device. And that device is pre-vetted before that person comes on the platform. And by doing so, we're also able to determine how many monitors do you have? What kind of keyboard are you using, right? We can get really specific with these checks so that then you're meeting exactly the profile that you'd have in office. And the beauty of it is that when agents are actually on the platform, we then have zero trust endpoint management, which effectively locks down their device and makes it a computer that would be provisioned in the same way that an office computer would be. You could see every keystroke, you could see every window click. And the beauty of it is we've created a controlled environment within a scalable remote workforce that feels just like an office.
Fact is, in order for you to deliver top notch quality service to your customers, you're going to have to embrace a 1099 model. The pendulum has moved back to in office,
Yeah.
and it's just not going to work in a contact center unless it's like your core W-2s. But that's still going to create a lot of problems for you. So you have to embrace it. You have to embrace remote, but it's dangerous out there. There are unknown threats. They're evolving very quickly. AI is making that run even faster. You need a platform that's going to vet agents from the very second that they log in to your application and set up their account, and every single second thereafter, so that you know that you're putting your customers in contact with somebody who's exactly who you expect them to be, and with the clear background checks and ID verifications that you would expect. I'll tell you that this is the very first step in making sure that you're able to operate successfully in a post-AI world, because you have to have 1099s, you have to be remote in that situation, and you actually have to let the devices bring your own device too. And so
Yeah.
that's the other thing. You have to make sure that the equipment that they're using is fully monitored and is compliant. And I'm really proud of what we've built. For us, that's step one, and it's set up to satisfy the requirements of the strictest contact center operations out there: financial services, healthcare, you name it. Like that to me is the top, and everything we operate is falling within that framework.
Yeah, and I also think something really interesting, and this is something we have done from day one of ShyftOff, is we really wanted to achieve agent quality and security, knowing that this is where a lot of hesitation and adoption of a gig
Totally.
model comes in play. And also, this is where a lot of companies just like don't even do this, right? Like, imagine the resources required to stand up something like this on your own, right? You'd need a whole separate department. You need to work with IT, right? You're not hiring this like very specific contact center
Might take you
IT.
years to develop it.
Right. So the beauty of what we were trying to do is really shorten that learning curve or the barrier to entry for your contact center to reap the benefits of a gig economy, still meet your security standards, and then deliver like insanely incredible measurable agent quality. That's one of our core product values, is just making sure that agent quality and the quality of our platform is both secure and meets the expectations of our customer.
Yeah, totally.
So I'd love to dive into part 2 of what makes up an agentic workforce delivery platform, which is dynamic scheduling and this agentic management that happens, right? ShyftOff not only executes, but automatically scales a human workforce around your AIs and W2. And this is like a really big piece of that. We're able to pull in data from your CCAS, your CX stack, your literal spreadsheet forecast, right? And be able to slot agents in at the perfect time where you have that demand.
In a traditional model, you look at these call forecasts at interval levels, you see spikes, you see, peaks and valleys, and then you slap an 8-hour work week, 8-hour workday person right in the middle of it. And you've got to balance that across all of your people. You're trying to optimize the schedule, but you're always dealing with being understaffed for peaks and overstaffed for valleys. And going into that exercise, that's exactly your job. You are trying to minimize the error between the peaks and the valleys and get to the service level commitment you need. In our situation at ShyftOff, we've developed a way to actually not have that trade-off at all. You can have the peaks and you don't have to overstaff the valleys. And so you can have exactly that staff at that moment, which is really cool, because if we're staffing in 30-minute intervals and we're predicting volume in 30-minute intervals or 15-minute intervals, whatever you're doing, that's very powerful. But here's the key. In order for that staffing in 30 minutes to actually happen, remember, we're working with a 1099 workforce that's expecting to work from home or wherever they want, truly, and work on their own terms, to be able to pick and choose when they show up. A workforce manager is going to say, well, that's impossible, unless you have a program, a software that can actually predict exactly what that delivery is going to be at those 30-minute intervals. And so that's what we call dynamic scheduling and forecasting. So if you think about your example with T-Mobile at 9:30 last night, either there's two things could have happened, right? Either they underestimated, maybe 2 or 3 things. They underestimated the volume. So there's more volume in queue than they anticipated. And they were staffed perfectly to their original forecast, but really didn't have any way to get more agents on immediately in that time to help. Would be cool if they did, because if that were true, your 35-minute hold time would go down to like 3 minutes. That's one feature of a dynamic scheduling system, is like having surge capability. Like, oh, we're short staffed right now in this 30-minute interval, hit a button, boom, people come in. We do that every single day. Or the other is maybe they had the right forecast, but not enough agents showed up. And so I bet you anything that there's enough data to have predicted that. In our world, there would have been. And in our world, we're looking at the behavior that every agent is taking on our platform. Every click we can see, we're measuring and quantifying. And so we already know the day before that interval is looking like we're going to underdeliver. So this, again, built in, the button, we don't even have to click it. The button just automatically releases schedules and allows us to hit that number. And that's what we mean by dynamic scheduling. That is the role of scheduling and real time all built into a platform. And heck, it even makes the role of a forecaster, their job, way less challenging, because now, they got to get it as close as possible, but we always know that there's going to be some error in a forecast. There's no perfect forecast, but having the ability to respond to variations in that forecast that are actually impacting your customers or your bottom line is what we're capable of doing now.
Yeah. So one thing that I can imagine a lot of people are like, well, how do you guarantee the agents are going to show up? And I know that's something that we have that's really unique is agent priority boarding. And the fact that we've gamified our experience so that we've really like created the perfect thing, very similar to an Uber model, right? Like these people want work. They want to make sure that their car is clean and upkept and that they continue to deliver 5-star rides so that they can get more. I'd love for you to dig in a little bit more into agent priority boarding and how it almost ensures reliability for this model.
We totally ripped this off from Uber. My very first Uber driver that I jumped into, obviously, I don't know if everyone remembers theirs, but it's like a little weird getting in the back of somebody's car that is like stranger. I'm like, hopefully they don't take me off in the middle of nowhere, never be seen again. But when I jumped into the back, the Uber driver was just like a ray of sunshine, super nice, handed me a bottle of water. He said, welcome, enjoy the ride, whatever. And I was like, wow, this has never happened in a taxi cab. Like, I don't even have to go through that experience. We all know that's brutal. And so obviously I gave that guy a 5-star rating. He was phenomenal. And when he gets that 5-star rating, that's going to increase his probability of getting the next ride when it pops up. So that means Uber is always going to have the best drivers circling around town because they're constantly rewarding them with the most opportunities. And then the experience at Uber, every time you jump in an Uber, is going to be statistically way better than it would be in a taxi.
Yeah.
Same exact concept at ShyftOff. There are a few metrics that we care about, but every customer that we have has a unique thing that they need, whether it's a specific, if it's inbound sales or tech support or customer service, whatever it is, and customer to customer varies too. So we look at it at a very granular level and we say, what's really important to this type of work? And those KPIs that are tied back to the agent are day one brought into the platform. Agents know exactly how to win the game. Think of it like a video game. Oh, I got to hit this metric, do this thing, do that other thing, and hey, I get all the points. Well, it's the same exact thing. And so if they hit all their metrics and they're ranked the highest, then they get preferential access to the schedules. Just like, hey, the 5-star Uber driver gets the first, preferential choice on the next ride. This one's going to take me, 2 hours east. All right, I'm not going to take that one. But you know what I'm saying? Like they have the choice. And so for us, what that does, and we measure this very tightly, is that we're going to bring in more agents than a traditional center because we have the capability of platform to do it. There's no reason not to. And we're going to have them essentially competing for schedules, just like Uber has probably 10 times as many drivers in a city than are actually running around town at a given time.
Yeah.
And a lot of that's because those are some of the best drivers because they're getting rewarded. And so for us, our top 20% of agents in a pool are working 80, 90% of the hours. So statistically, we actually always outperform because we're using this model and we're aligning those incentives and we're gamifying it. We always outperform a traditional W-2 center because you frankly don't have that lever. You have 10 people, 3 of them are awesome. 4 of them are fine. 3 of them you're really working with, you might need to get rid of, but you still need 10 people. So you can't really get rid of them. That's where all of your management time is spent. That's where all your customer complaints are coming from. That's where all the issues really are. And you're spending all your time trying to get them a little bit better so they're not as much of a problem. In our model, we have the exact same thing, but instead of 10 people, we have 50 or whatever. And our top 3 is our top 10. And so they can fill up the entire schedule because our platform incentivizes that. And those are the agents that keep coming back every single day, gobbling up more hours and making customers way happier.
And I think what we've learned since bringing this model to market is that agents become dedicated, which I think is really interesting. A lot of people are like, well, are my agents dedicated? How do I know? The average top performer works 34 hours a week. Yeah. And part of it is they really want to get these shifts. So they focus, they become experts at the brand that they're working with, and they just become like, this is their home. And really similarly, we were trying to figure out, well, what's the psychology about this? It's the same way like an Uber driver is going to stay in their city because they know the route, right? Mm-hmm. They're not going to purposefully venture off into another town and try to make money there when they know the opportunities right there. They know how long the drives are, right? Like all of this is baked in. They have the advantage to them is they're the expert in that space. So they keep getting it. And so I think that's really special about
every time we talk
platform.
about this, I always think of that. It's like 10-year-old book now, maybe older. It's Drive by Daniel Pink. And it's like conceptually, it makes so much sense. People want 3 things: autonomy, mastery, and purpose. And that's how people have fulfillment in their job.
Yeah.
And so at ShyftOff, they're never given, like every agent has full autonomy to pick when they work, who they work for, how often they work, so their full schedule. Mastery and purpose is key. So they're going to go, let me start with purpose though. They're going to go gravitate to accounts like healthcare, which is one of the, we see this every day, or tech support, something that they really care about, and it gives them purpose. And then they're going to get good at it because they're showing up every day. They have all the resources in front of them. They have all the support they need. So they become masters of this. And so as they progress through, they get autonomy, they get mastery, they get purpose, and they stick around and they become really, really dedicated agents that, again, we're never sharing across campaigns. So that 34 hours is all productive time, by the way. So they're actually kind of working more than a traditional agent. Traditional agents work like 26 a week on average. Like, it's a huge misconception that these are transient people. These are just people that want a fair deal.
Yeah.
Or just want good work environment.
Yeah. And I think because we have this dynamic scheduling as a baked in property of the platform, right? This built in surge capacity, the gamification. This is where that AI W2 1099 orchestration really comes into play. Because what your CCaaS, your CX tools, your tech stack is telling ShyftOff is these are when my agents are live. This is when my W2s are live. This is when I have seasonality. This is when I have lows. And then we're able to say, oh, great, pop, pop. We're just putting in this 1099 that you have a perfectly staffed, always cost controlled, fully in your control contact center, which is really the future of operations. And totally I think it's really great. So moving on to the third component, which is AI QA. This is one of my favorite features of ShyftOff, probably because I've even had a chance to do some of the prompt engineering, not to spoil it, but being able to help figure out how to gain more insights for our customers out of the data warehouses that we're building from them. So to scale back a little bit, I'd love to ask you, Trevor, on how we actually process and store data, knowing that that's a really key component of how we're able to do QA across 100% of the interactions on our platform. I'd love to tap into that a little.
Yeah. So, and I don't know if we can just say it, but this is actually really new technology for us. This is like one of the newest features that we've come out with in the last, 30, 90 days. And to us, this is where it's going to take ShyftOff to the very next level. We've always taken this approach of, all right, we're going to go integrate to our customer systems, and that's going to include CCaaS, and we do that every day. Quality systems will still do that, but we really wanted to have our own answer to managing and measuring quality, and the only way you could really do that was with AI. I think the human QA process is extremely flawed, and I guess maybe a different episode, but we could also go into it if you want. But we need a systematic way to evaluate people fairly across every interaction, or as many that we think is a statistically significant sample, which is almost impossible to do with human QA, and do it in such a way that is getting the insights out that we really care about. And that's where the prompt engineering comes out, and also being able to do it securely. And so that's the other thing, we really are trying to solve for, and always have tried to solve for, the most complex regulated work that you can't just take these call recordings and store them anywhere you want, put them in your Google Drive. That's insane.
Yeah.
And so we spent a lot of time deciding, all right, what's the right way to do this? For us, we've come to a really good conclusion and a design that allows us to actually extract all the PII, and the redaction's been there for a long time, but being able to store this and operate with LLMs securely and separate from the rest of the internet, not actually store the information, not actually pass any insights to the black box of LLMs. You have no idea where that information is going.
Right.
We'll be able to sever that connection and do it at scale, and then build a very bespoke data warehouse of all of these interactions that we're having with every customer. And it could be, whether we handle the call or not, this technology can extract tremendous insight about what's going on with your customers. Yeah. And that's one of the things I really miss about being in an in-person center, is being able to be in an operations role from a strategic position and say, man, something's going on with sales today. Let me go walk the floor and see what people are saying. So I go out of my office and I go talk to people, and 10 minutes later, I know exactly where the problem is, because these folks are talking to customers. We're getting the direct feedback. So we're really bringing that floor back to life too. So I'm very, very excited about that technology.
And this is where I love what our AI QA technology really brings to contact centers, you now have a gold mine of business intelligence from your contact center. And as we mentioned, prompt engineering is probably going to be the next hot skill of the contact center
Totally.
because now that you have all this data, thankfully we do this for our customers. So if you want to bring your own insights to our tools, cool, but we've already figured out how to float up the most important things across workforce, business, agent performance, so that you're able to act on this data. And then our platform is able to act on this data too. That's really exciting as we have this agentic piece. But more so, I think that the contact center is no longer going to be a cost center, but the neuro center. And
Totally.
I'm sad I can't remember his name, but I'm really crediting this to one of the people that we had spoke to during market research all last quarter. And he really opened my eyes to this idea that the contact center can be a really valuable asset to the rest of the company, but if it's completely underutilized, it will be the most expensive thing you do. But if you're able to have this listening capability, this data collection capability, you will inevitably level up. I mean, there's no other way to. You know exactly what your customers are saying across product, across business improvement. It's where all of your insights live. And I think what I love most about the platform of ShyftOff is this agentic component that we're not only just taking these insights and giving it to you and it's like, here you go. We're acting on it in real time. This is how we find better agents that match your top performers. This is how we update your training and your simulations. This is how we, again, say, hey, there's this trend. It's, again, bringing that floor to life that you can then go take that to your product team, marketing. You could even take that to your exec team and say, this is what we need to change right now. And this could be your strategic advantage against your competitor. You might hear through these calls exactly who your competitor is and who people are leaving you for. You know exactly where to put some marketing dollars or potentially some product improvements that otherwise you wouldn't have had this data to do so.
Totally. Yeah, I think that the comment from our market research was excellent. I mean, in my view, contact centers for the last 40 years have been the way we've operated has been a big barrier to getting true market insight. The only way you can really do it is walk the floor, like I was saying.
Yeah.
Then you can actually hear what the customer is saying. But there's no more important voice in your contact center than the customer or the prospect. Like as a CEO or a chief customer officer, anybody who cares about growing the business, that's the most important thing you can tap into. And so I'm a big believer that if you're running your company, the product you're building, what you're selling is the most important thing that you can be focused on. And human operations should be secondary. And so, but in a traditional contact center, that insight's not free flowing unless somebody's in there manually listening to calls, throwing it together in a summary report somewhere. But all that can be done now systematically. And the operation of the agentic part of it is now we have every single call, the data about that call, who took the call, the type of call it was, et cetera, et cetera. And we can immediately start to get insights on how do we get better at selecting agents. Maybe we thought college degrees and computer science backgrounds mattered.
Yeah.
But that's probably not true. It's probably ex-teachers or nurses that have a tremendous amount of empathy. Maybe those are the things that we should be looking for. Mm-hmm. But without that feedback loop, without that agent can go now change the profile. Or I would put a bajillion dollars on the fact that everybody's training is somewhat outdated and things aren't completely current all the time. And agentic AI can now change that, can now be listening to every call as things change, as updates happen in the business. The way we prepare agents gets better and better. And that loop just continues to get better and better, and it becomes a flywheel.
Yeah, just like any AI, more data that you provide to it, the better, the smarter, the more effective it becomes.
Absolutely.
So jumping into the final core component of agentic workforce delivery, which is cost control. And so I think there's a couple of things that agentic workforce delivery does effectively, and it is outcome-based pricing, which is really exciting, and I'm happy to ask Trevor more to dive into that. But And then the other part is just this reduction of overhead, right? Like anything. And yes, right. We started off with like AI is not a binary construct of like AI versus humans, but AI inevitably is going to like right size contact center teams to be really lean and focused. But I think what's beautiful is, as you've heard, there's like new roles emerging as a result of this reduction. And I do think that, and you'll hear it here first, there will be this rise of the workforce engineer, that an agentic workforce delivery platform will be their primary tool. And this is how they're going to have like use AI, use workforce management best practices, use tools like ShyftOff to really control costs, but then also just overall figure out how to blend the synchronization even more. But before we dig into that, there's a whole other episode where I really want to go into workforce engineering. I really want to talk about the transformation that happens to the organization structure and how contact centers pay for contractors, or when I think you traditionally think of like BPO, what I'm paying for BPO, like in our mind, we're like, that model's kind of dead. But we're hoping that this is the way, right? Like we're using technology to usher in better ways of working. So I'd love for Trevor for you to dig in like the shift from payroll hour to outcome based hour out or billing per outcome hour.
Yeah, I mean, my view is there's like we're on a little bit of a evolution here. Payroll hour has been, before, as ShyftOff kind of came onto the scene, everyone was paying BPOs in terms of payroll hours, like all 40 hours. We've come in saying, that's crazy. I would never do that. Let's do productive hour, which is really the time that you require somebody to be online, on call with somebody, or wrapping a call. And I think the next evolution of this is, especially as agentic AI starts to actually take contacts out of the contact center and kind of detract them from the human supported side of the contact center, it's going to have to be outcome based, or it's not so much time based, and definitely not human time based. It might be credit based. It might be, there's a number of ways. I think the pricing structure is going to have to change. You really don't want to have people, you don't want to be paying for people to be sitting around doing nothing.
Yeah.
And you certainly don't want to be paying people to sit there and also being crushed by calls, because you're just going to get a bad customer experience. And obviously agents are not going to like that. They tend to churn out when they're overburdened with calls. So I think there's some more pricing evolution going on. I think right now productive hours is a very good place to be. As the AI piece kind of becomes more clear, I would never do payroll hour.
Yeah. Well, I also think too that when we think about what a new org would look like with a agentic workforce, I think you're able to really keep on board those W-2s that are change makers for your contact center, right? And then also create a culture and a workforce, like a work environment that really complements them, right? Everybody can go to a team training now. Everybody can go to these types of things. You have like a lever to help make that flex. But also too, I think there's just going to be smarter types of work that have to happen in the contact center where a workforce engineer would be able to step in. And I could see a future where a contact center doesn't have your traditional WFM team and instead has a few workforce engineers that are working with tools like ShyftOff and those modern CCASs and WFMs to make something really powerful. And your business can then focus on, again, upskilling those that really have that opportunity for it.
I mean, on the org structure, I think is going to dramatically change. I don't know that people have really kind of got their head around this yet.
Yeah.
And in my past lives operating a contact center, there's, obviously you have the agents, and you're always thinking about how many agents do I need? And then it's a math ratio typically of, all right, so how many supervisors do I need? How many recruiters do I need? How many trainers do I need? How many workforce management, real time, quality assurance, et cetera, whatever else is on your org. And we just talked about 3 different aspects of the agentic workforce delivery platform that ShyftOff has brought to market. And those cover recruiting, certification, workforce management, including real time, quality assurance, and everything in between. And so our calculation lately is 98% of the overhead required to operate a contact center is automated in this platform, and the outcomes are better. And I think that's ultimately a really good thing for your customers and your business. And to your point, Tiana, I think it matters that now, instead of all this kind of like overly simplifying this tremendous amount of spreadsheet work that's happening and email inbox work that's everyone's slinging paper back and forth to each other.
Yeah.
That goes away. And now the efforts to that organization can invest in are more geared to the customer, or making the agents better, or making them more prepared. And I do think that you replace a lot of that kind of traditional overhead, those organizations I just mentioned, with a new skill set that's highly technical. And we're calling it the workforce engineer.
Yeah.
We think that that is the role that contact centers are going to be hiring in the future. Not that far in the future, like today. Like that's the new where things are going. That's what we're hiring. And we're actually not the only industry doing this. I think it's valid. Like I think we're ahead of the curve here, but I don't think we should take full credit. This is straight out of the playbook for any other industry that's been completely hit by AI, such as sales and marketing. You look at Clay's work, go-to-market engineer, same exact concept. They're leveraging AI. They're getting rid of massive amounts of overhead and grunt work to get a lesser capable outcome.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the kind of thing we're going to see play out in many industries. So contact centers need to be thinking about workforce engineering and what that means, and having the platform in place that's going to orchestrate their now very complex AI and human organization. And that human organization has to be some mix of W-2 and 1099.
Yeah. No, I love that voiceover. We have been really passionate about the workforce engineer. And I think we've actually seen this role emerge within our current customers, right? Each of our core primary users of the platform are workforce engineers, and seeing them evolve in this role. I'm hoping that throughout the show, we can bring a few of them in to talk about their playbooks, because it's really incredible what they've been able to accomplish. I mean, I feel they've kind of gone big brain, right? In terms of what they're doing with their contact center now. I mean, they're seeing like unprecedented expansion with this opportunity. And they're starting to build customer experiences that they've never thought possible, because they have this unmatched flexibility with ShyftOff.
Yeah, the customer base growing quadruple year over year, and their contact center is staying pretty much flat.
Right.
That's amazing.
It's really cool stuff. So with that, I wanted to close. Granted, this was a hefty episode, but what I'm excited to say is we're going to hold your hand through this as we go through Agentic Workforce Delivery. Also, if you're really curious, we'd love to give you a personalized demo. Send us some of your forecast data. Send us some of your numbers. Like, we'll show you how the platform works in real time for you specifically and your unique contact center needs. But without the shameless plug, I wanted to talk about our best practices and takeaways.
Yeah, to me, the most optimized contact center in 2025 and going forward is a mix of AI, W-2, and 1099. And the way I would play it is I would run as much through AI as I thought would make sense, and an agentic AI that could handle the customer's needs. I wouldn't push the envelope there, because I do care about my customers, and I want to make sure that we don't sacrifice customer experience and potentially harm the bottom line of the company. And so for those things, and then also having a backstop for inevitably this new tooling is going to have errors, definitely going to have problems. So I basically then use a 1099 flex model to staff perfectly to when I know I need head count or humans, and also have them as a insurance policy of I don't know when things are going to go wrong, and be able to rely on them immediately to staff up to keep Tiana from having a 35-minute hold time.
Yeah.
at T-Mobile. You guys should call us again. Just kidding. Not really. And I would start to shift my W-2 thinking. Yeah, okay, sure. You could have a steady state of W-2s that are, do normal contact center stuff. Maybe they do the same thing as your 1099 model. But I would prefer to start thinking of this as maybe a tier 3, where, agentic AI is tier 1. 1099s tier two, and then the W-2s they're really empowered. They might even have access that you would only give a handful of people. Like, this is your core team that's going to really handle the hardest problems.
Yeah.
To me, you're never overpaying at that point for labor. And in my mind, in my opinion, you're getting the very best talent and the very best experience for your customers. To me, that's optimal. That's how I would do it today.
Yeah. I love hearing the future. I mean, this is the future of contact center podcasts. I also think another takeaway is like getting your data house in order now. Like AI QA is one of the few innovations in our space right now that really puts power back in the contact center in a way that hasn't. And I think in talking to a lot of contact center leaders, they have to like scream and shout to make the contact center really important in conversations and executive discussions. With AI QA, the power's back in your hand, right? Like you become essentially the most powerful leveler within your organization because you have a lot of data, right? And tools like ShyftOff can really help you get there with our own agents or even your own agents, right? Like our platform is able to take this data from any of your customer interactions and make it really powerful. And I think the third takeaway is like really rethinking your org chart, right? Be curious about this workforce engineer. One of our coming episodes will really delve into what this looks like, how to hire, what this type of work this person is doing. Maybe we may even have a special guest of a workforce engineer on our side, and then really start thinking about like what a cross-functional team would look like what does an AI expert on your contact center team look like? What does operations look like, right? Really prepare for this like neuro center transformation that we had spoke about and what that really looks like. We'll wrap here. And if this episode sparked any ideas about how you could transform your contact center operations, we'd truly love to hear from you. If you haven't already, subscribe to our YouTube channel, favorite us on Spotify, sign up for our newsletter. We have a email form at the bottom of the website. Stay in touch, right? Like we would love to be cutting edge. If you have ideas, please send me a note. We'd love other voices on the podcast. We'd love to hear something that you're doing if you have your own challenges. And as I mentioned earlier, if you really want to see how ShyftOff can work for your contact center with actual data, I'd love to get our director of strategic partnerships on the phone with you, and you can really see the magic of the platform yourself. But in the meantime, keep on evolving, keep on pioneering the future of contact centers. And we look forward to seeing you on the next episode.